Hi there, hope you are well. I am very well because today is seasonal planning day. It is the start of autumn. It's just turning from summer to autumn over here, and I am gonna make my plan for autumn. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I am a seasonal planner and I love this type of planning. So yeah, I've done these vlogs before and I thought I would take you along today as well to talk about planning, talk about autumn, and share some of the things that I am gonna do in my business and my creative work this autumn. So let's get started. Close to curtains, brew some herbal tea. Reach out for me. So a little guy here decided to join us. This is Pisen, for those of you who don't know him already. He very much likes to join me in my creative work and whatever I'm doing. So yeah, he'll be here for a while. So seasonal planning is something I've been doing for 2 years now. And it was something I've always been a bit of a planner, but not always a good planner. I've always tended to plan in a bit more than I'm able to do and get a bit stressed by it. So I've been working on my planning for quite a few years. So my creative work is quite diverse. I have my blog, now I have this YouTube channel. I've been working on a novel. Now I do coaching. I have my photography and my Instagram account. So I do quite a lot of different things, and during the last couple of years, I've also had to sort of teach myself how to do photography. I've learned videography, I've designed my website, that kind of thing. So I've had different things that I wanted to do or wanted to develop. I've had goals. So when you have a creative life like this, where there are many different avenues, different crafts that you want to hone, different goals that you may want to have, then planning becomes a little bit more important than if you have just one project that you want to work on and your plan is essentially, I want to work on my project. So when I was sort of trying to do my planning and not being entirely successful with it, I experimented with a longer stretch of time. So, hi Pisen. When planning for example, a month or like only weekly planning, we come directly to the very detailed type of planning. And if we plan for a whole year, then that's a very broad type of planning that will likely also change and shift over the year. Yes. So what I wanted to do was to have a shorter stretch of time than a year, but a longer stretch of time than a month. And then you can choose to go with the quarters, but I always found the quarters a little bit constructed, and the seasons have always affected me a lot. It affected my mood, my inspiration, and I was finding that it was affecting my creativity as well, and the type of creative work that I was inspired for in the different seasons. So I decided to simply embrace this and start planning seasonally. And I also polled creatives in the different seasons to ask other people how they found the seasons and how it affected their creative work. So from this, I worked out a model, a process to plan both for the year, but then do most of the planning at the beginning of each season. So that's what I'm gonna do today. And Pisen is lying on them, but underneath here are some of my workbooks from my planning guide for seasons of creative work, and you can get it on my website. I'll leave the link down in the description to the video if you want to check it out and maybe do seasonal planning as well. So what I always tend to start with, and what the workbook also helps you start with at the beginning of your seasonal planning, is to look back on the season we're leaving behind. So I'm now gonna look back on summer, and sometimes people feel a little bit vulnerable looking back on the past season, simply because maybe things didn't go according to plan. Maybe you had hopes for the summer that didn't work out. Maybe you had hoped to start working on a project and you were met with resistance and self-doubt, and things didn't go as planned. And then looking back on the season can feel not very good. It can feel like you didn't do the work that you wanted to do, and you feel a little bit like a failure for it. But I would encourage you to not look at it like that, but look at it more as, what can I learn from the season that I'm leaving behind, and reflect on it from a very open standpoint. So if there were something that you wanted to do and you didn't do, why is that? Why do you think that is? And what can you learn from it? So if, for example, you're struggling with self-doubt and resistance in a project that you want to work on, that is something that you can learn about yourself and your creative work and that project. And maybe it's something that you specifically need to work on in the season ahead, for example. So what I thought I would do now is to make myself a cup of tea and move Pysen over a little bit so I can do my reflecting on the summer. And before I sat down to record this video and do my planning, I watched my last vlog on my summer planning that I did a couple of months ago, and I realized some things did change. That this is usually the case. We do our planning and then things change a little bit along the way. And that doesn't mean that the planning didn't work, or it was bad planning, or that there's no point in planning. It's just that we set our intention, we set our direction, and okay, this is how I would like to progress forward. And then along the way, we learn things, our priorities shift, things change, and so our plan has to adapt and develop over time. And that doesn't mean it's not anything bad with that. We just have to be flexible in our planning as well. So yeah, I am gonna do my reflecting on summer and get back to you. And yeah. Brew some herbal tea. Reach out for me. Take my hand and lead, even when I disagree. So I've now reflected on my summer, and it feels like a long season for me. So if you know me, you know that right now I am doing a 6-month leap to try to take my business full time. So I started this back in April, and I'm going until the end of September. And yeah, that means that the summer months has been the only season that is a full season within my 6-month leap. So yeah, it has been a time when I've been working more on the business and more on my creative work than I have done any other season. So I started this season with a main focus area on working on my coaching, my creative coaching clients, building trust in my coaching. And this has definitely been my main focus. I have worked with more coaching clients than any season before. And yeah, that's definitely been my main focus. So that has gone well and according to plan. And the secondary focus area was on outreach, to try to grow my business and grow the reach of my business. So this could be pitching myself as a guest on podcast, pitching articles to magazines, doing more outreach videos here on YouTube. And that was where things got a little bit rocky in the summer. So if you have been reading my blog, for example, or maybe I've mentioned this in some other videos as well, I hit the messy middle of my 6-month leap during summer, especially in the beginning of summer. So messy middle, I leave a blog post down in the description about this and about messy middles, but essentially it's when you get into a project, a creative project, and things start to sort of get messy. All the sort of fears and doubts that you have come to the surface, and the challenges of the projects, the actual sort of what's hard about the project, you'll have to deal with that at some point. So that is what the measurable tends to be, and it tends to feel a little bit rocky. So I experienced some resistance around this outreach work that I wanted to do to grow to reach my business, and this sort of propelled me also into my messy middle. And working through all of this, I came to a much better understanding of what this was about. So like I said, you can read more about it in the blog post, but essentially it had to do with how I have been viewing myself as a blogger who started a business, and I haven't fully taken myself seriously. And that made it hard for me to reach out and say, hey, I'm a creative coach, please interview me for your podcast, alongside other people I saw as much more legit and serious than me. And so this has been changing over the summer as well. Now that I'm doing my business full-time and I'm working with more clients, I am starting to take myself and my work much more seriously. So I feel like I'm much more coming into the work than I have. But yeah, this was something that I worked through over the summer that was born out of the struggle with the outreach work that I wanted to do. So I haven't done as much of that as I hoped, but I think it will be easier for me now in autumn to focus more on that. So yeah, it was good to work through that. And all of this also led to something very unplanned for the summer. So I have done a complete redesign of my website, and that was definitely not something I planned, but it was born out of this how I have been viewing myself in the past, and seeing that was reflected in my website design as well, and changing that to something different, the newer version of me and my business that I'm now stepping into. So the redesign of the website was good. I'm very glad that I did it, but yeah, it was unplanned. And I tend to have these things that I do in summer that is unplanned, because summer tend to be a time when I reflect a lot. So this YouTube channel was born last summer, and this summer it was a redesign. And I also wanted to work more on my novel projects than I did, but I feel like I have some more clarity around it now. So even if I didn't do as much work as I wanted to, I feel like I have been processing it in my mind. So that is something that I'm going to continue in autumn as well. So yeah, if you are also sitting down and wanting to reflect on summer, I would encourage you to have that open approach and look at, okay, what did I do? What went according to plan if you had a plan? What didn't? What felt good? What didn't feel good? And reflecting on that, and see what you can learn and take with you into autumn as well. So enough about summer. Now it's time to start autumn. So autumn is a season when we tend to go deeper in our creative work. So often ideas start in spring, and then in autumn we come to a point when we go a little bit deeper into our ideas, our projects, or maybe new projects are born out of this going deeper. So this is something I saw when I pulled creatives. It's also something I've seen in the coaching clients that I work with, and also of course in my own creative work. We tend to get a little bit nerdier in autumn. We tend to we have this more cozy, more staying at home kind of life in autumn, and it tends to work out that we are sort of going a little bit deeper into our ideas, into our projects, into our creative work, what it's about, what we really want to do, and what we want our projects to be. So autumn is a really good season for creative work. I do think that every season is good, but I very much enjoy creating in autumn as well. So yeah, I'm now going to fill out my workbook, the rest of it. So I'm going to check in with my yearly goals and then do my plan for autumn, choosing focus areas and activities and all that kind of good stuff. And then I'll tell you more about what my plans are for autumn and give you some tips for planning your season ahead. So yeah, gonna do that now. My desk is out. Who will care for the world out? Rest with me, close to
slow the ride. Discover books I forget about.
So that is my autumn plan done. It always feels so good to do this type of planning, get so clear about the season ahead and excited and inspired for it. So yeah, it feels really good. But I still have a lot of uncertainty for the autumn ahead. So like I said, I'm right now in my 6-month leap to try to take my business full time, and my leap ends at the end of September. And I haven't yet decided exactly how things are going to look beyond September. So I still have a lot of uncertainty in my plans, and I have to have a lot of flexibility for that. So if you don't know how much time or energy or mind space you're going to have for your creative work for the season ahead, just know that you can still plan, but plan in a lot of flexibility. So keep things a little bit open, don't plan in too much. And that is, of course, a tip for everyone. Don't plan in too much. We have a tendency to always think that we are going to be able to do more than we are. And I have that tendency too. So just try to plan in a little bit less than you think you're going to be able to do. And it's going to feel better as well if you have some wiggle room in your plan and can go after things that you feel inspired for and allow things to change and shift during the season as well. So yeah, planning with this type of uncertainty can be a little bit tricky, but I've tried to keep some options. So my main focus is most definitely going to be what it has been for the past 2 seasons. It's going to be on coaching, on building trust in my coaching and working with my coaching clients, marketing that, and yeah, it's going to be that. And I'm very happy to have that as my main focus. So that is happening regardless of how my balance looks beyond September. So the secondary focus area that I'm choosing, that is more of, we'll see exactly what that will be. But I think and I hope that I'm going to work on some kind of group program or course. So I wanted to do this for so long, and having had my focus on coaching for the past couple of months, I not wanted to distract myself with other things and other offerings. I wanted to focus 100% on coaching. But I'm really itching to develop another offering that is more of a group setting. So I really hope that I'm going to be able to do that this autumn. So yeah, stay tuned, you'll see if I manage to do it or not. But that is something I really want to do. And then for some other things that is going to be less of a focus, but I still want to do, is the outreach work that I talked about earlier. I still want to keep doing outreach, and I sort of put that also in the main focus of building trust in my coaching, and that novel. So I have the new novel idea that I wanted to get started with, but I feel really drawn to my older novel project and the feedback that I got from a publisher. And while I earlier felt resistance around that project, I've now started to feel a bit of inspiration for it, and I'm feeling I have ideas for what I want to do with it. So I think I'm just gonna run with that for a while, and I don't think I'm gonna have a whole lot of time to focus on it during autumn, but some time. And yeah, I'm gonna make a little bit of time to work on that, because I really miss novel writing as well. I've been so focused on the business things for the last couple of months and the book project, it was a year ago that I finished this latest draft. So it's been a while since I worked on novel writing, and I miss it. So I'm really aching to get back into that as well during autumn, even if it's on a small level. So yeah, feeling very inspired for autumn. And if you are sitting down to think about your creative work for autumn, like I said, the first thing, don't try to cram in too much. When you're planning at this stage, try to keep some openness in your plan, and don't try to plan like week by week by week. Try to plan on the level of focus areas. So I know that many of my creative coaching clients, when people come to me, feel very overwhelmed, and also when we start working together and they are exploring more what they want to do in the creative work and the different things that they want to do, the goals that they have, it tends to at some point get pretty overwhelming. And the thing with overwhelm is that we get overwhelmed when we see the whole journey from, okay, here I am, and here's my creative goal over here, whether it's to finish a novel or another book or build a business or whatever it might be. There is a lot of work between the now and the point over there. And that gets overwhelming very quickly. And what you want to do is to not look at the whole journey when you're sort of sitting down and thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I want to move forward in this direction. You want to identify, okay, so I'm here, and the next couple of steps that I could take, or just the first step that you can take, the closest step. And you can also decide what that step is going to be. So I see often that when we're thinking, okay, I have this 10 things that needs to happen to get me to this point over there, we think that we sort of have to do the 10 things at the same time, and we definitely don't. So let's say, for example, that you know that you want to have a blog and you want to have a podcast and you want to do something else. You don't have to start doing all of those things at the same time. Pick one thing that you start with and you focus on that for the next couple of months, for the autumn, for example. And when you feel a little bit comfortable in doing that, then you can add on another thing. So that is how I use focus areas and how I recommend and help all my coaching clients to work like that. Don't try to do every type of thing at the same time, and don't try to do many new things at the same time. Find a focus and focus on the focus. And then as you're going into future seasons, you can shift that focus to other things so that you sort of can over time do all the different things that you want to do. So I really hope that you're feeling inspired for autumn as well, and that you have some creative work you really want to dig into, you have some inspiration and some projects you want to work on. And yeah, if you want to check out 4 seasons of creative work, there's a link down in the description to that. And if you run into some problems in your planning, or if you feel like you are overwhelmed and don't know which steps to take next, or if you want some support in your project, you know that I do one-to-one creative coaching, and I'll leave the link to my coaching packages down below as well. I have both a one-off 90-minute session if you're just dealing with a challenge and want to move through that, and I also have a larger 3 to 6 months coaching package to work on a project or multiple projects together. If you're watching this video the week that it goes out, also going to say that I have a free workshop this week that I call Back to Creativity. So back to school, but to creativity instead. So I'm going to do this free workshop to help you kick off autumn in a nice and gentle and creative way. So yeah, check out the link down in the description to that as well if you're interested in joining the workshop. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed making it. Give it a little like if you did. And if you're new here, hello and welcome. You can subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!